Hello, my name is Michelle Kaur, and this is my final case study assignment for Fundamentals of Mental Health. What is anxiety? Anxiety is an emotional response to feeling worried, uneasy, panicked, or even fearful about events or situations. Anxiety becomes a mental health challenge when a person continues to have these feelings even when there is no real cause, or when the reaction is much bigger than what is actually happening. Anxiety symptoms vary from person to person, but some of the most common symptoms include nervousness or restlessness, feeling of impending doom or panic, sweating, shaking or trembling, difficulty sleeping, staying focused, and increased heart rate or breathing. Prevalence of anxiety. Anxiety is one of the most common mental health disorders in Canada, with the Public Health Agency reporting around 11.6% of Canadian adults currently live with some form of mood or anxiety disorders. Those living with these disorders often experience common symptoms similar to what we discussed in the last slide, and report that their anxiety disorders often affect their daily life in major ways. These effects make everyday tasks and responsibilities feel harder to manage and, in some instances, feel completely impossible. Causes of anxiety. The Canadian Mental Health Association explains that anxiety can be caused by many different factors, such as stress, trauma, major life changes, and even genetics. Other factors, such as physical health issues, substance use, and even isolation, can also promote anxiety and make symptoms of anxiety stronger, especially if these factors have taken place over a prolonged period of time. Outcomes of anxiety. When anxiety is not managed correctly or at all, it can have major effects on an individual's daily functioning. The Canadian Mental Health Association states that unmanaged or unsupported anxiety can cause sleep problems, trouble concentrating, panic attacks, and avoidance of everyday situations. Anxiety can also impact other areas of a person's life, such as work, relationships, and overall well being. When these symptoms build up, they can make it much harder for a person to cope with daily stress and maintain healthy routine or lifestyle. Treatment for anxiety. Both the Canadian Mental Health Association and Public Health Agency highlight several evidence-based treatments for anxiety, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, medication, healthy lifestyle habits, relaxation strategies, and good sleep. Cognitive behavioral therapy is claimed to be one of the most helpful of these options because it teaches people how to recognize unhelpful thought patterns, understand how those thoughts affect their feelings, and learn new skills to manage anxiety in a more balanced and realistic way. Legislation, policies, and research initiatives. There are many different policies and laws in Canada designed to support people living with anxiety and other mental health disorders. The Mental Health Act is one of the most noteworthy, as it outlines how people can access mental health care and protect their rights while receiving treatment. Another law is the Canadian Health Act, which makes sure essential mental health care services are covered under public health care. Other strategies, such as Mental Health Strategy of Canada, are also worth noting, as they focus on improving access to services, reducing stigma, and promoting early intervention. All of these pieces help us as mental health and addiction workers better support our clients who are dealing with different mental health challenges, including anxiety. Asha Introduction and Miss Koswin. Asha Sai is a 55-year-old woman who moved from rural India to Canada in 2019. Since the move, she has struggled with major challenges such as isolation and feeling disconnected from her community. She was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder last year and describes constant worry and fear to the point where she avoids leaving her home. Her family often dismisses her feelings and she spends much of her time alone because of that. Asha recently started drinking again after 15 years of sobriety to settle her nerves. Although she feels lonely, she stays in contact with her family in India and enjoys cooking and gardening. It's clear to see that Asha's Miss Kosowin is strongly shaped by her culture, her faith, her close family ties, and the routines she practiced back at home, like meditation and yoga, as these were things that grounded her and gave her a strong sense of identity and belonging. Since coming to Canada, Asha has been separated from the people, traditions, and daily practices that helped her feel connected. This loss has clearly made it harder for her to feel at home, affecting her confidence and her emotional well being, and overall continuing to promote and worsen her anxiety. Asha's risk and protective factors. Asha has several clinical concerns that I would want to support her with, including her generalized anxiety disorder, her strong feelings of fear and isolation, and her return to alcohol after 15 years of sobriety. Asha's risk factors include immigration stress, cultural disconnection, family minimalizing her feelings, being home alone most days, and her renewed alcohol use. Her protective factors include her sister's support, her connections to the Hindu cultural center, regular calls with her loved ones, and her interest in cooking, gardening, and past wellness practices, all of which can and should be built on in her care. Asha trauma informed approaches. Safety, trust, and emotional regulation. Asha needs to feel emotionally and culturally safe before she can fully open up. Her anxiety, isolation, and the shame she feels around drinking show that she's not felt safe expressing her emotions at home. Building trust with her, validating her feelings, and introducing grounding and calming strategies would help her feel more regulated and supported in her daily life. Cultural empowerment and choice. Asha's cultural identity and sense of self have been shaken by immigration, family pressure, and being isolated. A trauma informed approach would respect her background, recognize her strengths, and involve her in making decisions about her own care. Helping her reconnect with meaningful practices such as meditation, community involvement, and routine would support her and empower to give back a sense of control. Helpful Community Services, CMHA. I chose CMHA because they provide both mental health and addiction supports, which fit well with what Asha wants for her own supports. She has shared her struggle with anxiety and her recent relapse into alcohol, so having one place that can support both concerns would be very beneficial for her. CMHA is also very person centered and easy to access, with walk in options, self referrals, and community programs that feel manageable rather than overwhelming. I believe this environment would be helpful for Asha to feel supported and less alone, and would give her space to reach out for help at her own pace that feels right for her. Okay, so this is the CMHA official website. It's just their homepage. And let's look into some resources from CMHA that may be beneficial to Asha. Here in the Find Info, you'll find a little bit of info about mental health and addictions, both of which follow with what Asha is currently going through. Addictions because of her new use to alcohol again, and mental health because of her anxiety. It might be helpful for Asha to read through these or go through them with Asha as her mental health and addiction support worker. But for this, we're just going to look at the services that CMHA offers that would be beneficial to Asha. So to look at the services, we're going to go to what we do here on the CMHA official website. Go to Programs and Services. And here we'll be met with a big list of all the programs that CMHA offers. A lot of them do have to do with both mental health and addictions, as that's what CMHA specializes in. And obviously, if we have Asha with us, we would go through each and every one of these and see which one would be beneficial for her. For Asha specifically, there are two that I would mention in specific. One being the Community Wellness and Peer Support Program. This is just a program that outlines a calendar with different programs going on. I think this would be beneficial to Asha just because in the little bit of information that she has given us, she has explained that she feels very isolated and alone. And this provides programs for people feeling almost the exact same way to go out and meet and get out of the house. If you want to find out more information, we can click on the Learn More. Here we are. Here's a little bit more information just about that. If you have any additional questions, you can obviously reach out to the personal email provided here. If we want to register for the programs, we can just click here and it'll pull up a calendar showing all the programs that are happening. Obviously, Asha wouldn't have to attend every single one. Here it just states the times and what they are. Not all of them are meant for Asha. It's just to get out of the house and things. So she would be able to pick actually her own personal ones that she would like to give a try to, which I think would be very beneficial for her. And nothing is really set in stone. So if you plan on going, you don't have to register specifically for it. You just kind of show up and you can say that you're with CMHA and you want to participate in the event, which I think would be very beneficial for Asha because there's no pressure connected to it. And if we want to go back, oh goodness, hold on. There we go. Another program that CMHA offers that I might want to have a conversation about Asha getting into is this brief counseling. I think Asha would definitely benefit from this, as a counselor at CMHA would be able to sit down and have those conversations with her and kind of help her understand her anxiety and figure out a best ways to cope and deal with that. So if this is something that Asha would be interested in, we can also do learn more here. Here it gives a brief little rundown of the brief counseling and how it's offered. Asha does meet all the requirements as she's above the age of 16. She's willing to enter into the program if she agrees to, obviously. She has a mental health concern, which is her anxiety, and she does reside in the location offered. One-on-one counseling, which might be beneficial for Asha to be able to sit down and open up to someone. And if you want an appointment, you can just fill out the referral form, which is right here. If we're filling out this program or this form with Asha, we would do services for another person. If we want Asha to fill it out on her own, she would do services for herself. We're in English, and the services that we're looking for are in London. And in London, we're looking for mental health supports. Now, Asha can also go on and say that she's looking for addiction supports, but if we're focusing just on her anxiety, which is the cause to her addictions, we might want to work on that first. So we'll click on mental health supports and anxiety. Obviously, if Asha has any of these that she would also like to mention, we could click on those as well. But just for this run through, we're just going to talk about her anxiety. So we would go through all of this checklist, filling out any type of stressors, support goals. Is she ready to make the changes? And just kind of the other supports that she's looking for. Down here, we would provide Ash's information, and then she would be reached out within the week by a CMHA worker to schedule a appointment for her to have a counseling session. So those are the two supports from CMHA that I believe would be beneficial for Asha that are offered in the location of London. Thank you for following along and listening to this presentation. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to my email.